Welcome to Data Analysis with Python. In this video, we'll be looking at data visualization with Bokeh. Before now, we've looked at data visualization with Matplotlib, Seaborn. I mean, if you had to choose just one, Matplotlib is what you choose because that's a fundamental data visualization tool in Python. And that is followed by Seaborn that has some beautiful statistical uh, plots. And then we went ahead to talk about Plot9, which brings in Python, I mean, our standard plots into Python. And then we went for Altair, which resembles Python, which resembles Plot9 rather, uh, in that they are both declarative kind of visualization tools. And afterwards, we had looked at Plotly, which is very good as an interactive visualization tool. Bokeh is another interactive visualization tool that we're looking at. And then Plotly and Bokeh can be used for making dashboards, as we're going to see. After this video, I'll be looking at making dashboards with Bokeh. But for now, let's focus on data visualization with Bokeh. So in the introduction, Bokeh is a Python interactive visualization library that enables the creation of elegant, interactive, and web-ready plots and dashboards directly from Python code. So if you want to talk about web applications and you need visualization, Bokeh is one of the is a tool you can consider. So Bokeh stands out for its ability to create interactive browser-based visualizations with high performance and seamless integration with web technology directly from Python without needing JavaScript. So the key features that make Bokeh unique are its interactivity by default. So built-in tools like zoom, pan, hover, and selection without extra coding. Then server support enables building interactive dashboards and streaming data apps with Bokeh Server. Then you have output versatility, which renders plots to HTML, notebooks, or embeds in web apps. Then integration, which works well with pandas. So I mean, Bokeh works well with pandas, NumPy, and other Python data tools. So in this guide, we walk through using Bokeh to visualize data from four popular data sets. I mean, talked a lot about iris for flower measurement, flights and airline passenger data, tips, restaurant tipping data, and Titanic for passengers on the Titanic that sank, I think, in 1912 April. Now, visualizing the iris data set, here we focus on making an interactive scatter plot with it. Now, don't forget the plot is web-based most of the time. So you would usually have the plot being open in a browser, in a separate, not necessarily in a browser, on another page, right? Like a web page as we go on. So the iris data set of course we know already contains measurements of iris flowers, talking about their sepal length, their sepal width, their petal length, and petal width for three species of flowers, Setosa, versicolor, and Virginica. So we'll plot sepal length versus sepal width colored by species. Of course, the first thing we want to do is if you don't already have Bokeh, you want to first of all install that. So this is our first time of using Bokeh, right? So I want to install Bokeh itself. Then we also want to install Bokeh sample data because it is in that sample data we are going to find some data sets we can use. So I'm installing those two in the first line. So I just press Control Enter. This is what we are running now. So now you see requirements already satisfied because I had done that before. So, but if you are new to it, it takes a bit more time and then it works. And then we go for the next thing. So our focus here is to load the data, but you can't load data if you have not installed the library first. And then before you load the data itself, you have to, of course, from the bokeh.sample data.iris, we already downloaded, installed Bokeh underscore sample data here. So inside that sample data, you can find the other things you need now. So from bokeh.sample data.iris, you are going to import flowers. So then import pandas as PD for data manipulation, right? And then we want to preview the flowers data set here. So each row is a flower observation, as we are going to see, or as we already knew, right? So here we have 150 rows of flowers in 5 columns. Okay, I mean, we are used to this. So I won't take too much time talking about it. But the next thing is we want to map species to colors. So if you say, so we have species colors, Setosa is red, versicolor is green, Virginica is blue. And then we can now say flower, we create a new column for flower. So we say flowers color, and that will be mapped to flower species like that. And then by the time we run this, it adds new color column to the data frame, based on species. So, I mean, we are not seeing anything here because we did not call to see. So let me just uh call for flowers here so we can now see. Now you see the new column. Red is for Setosa, like we said. Blue is for Virginica, and somewhere in between you have green for versicolor. So, um, the third step now, we create an interactive scatter plot, which is our goal. So we use Bokeh's figure to create the plot and circle glyphs to plot points, right? So here now we now need from Bokeh plotting, Bokeh.plotting, that is, there's a function called plotting, or better still, module inside Bokeh, where you can import functions like figure and show. And then you have from Bokeh, you can also import a module called models, where you can get column data source. Then here we prepare the data source. It's a source is column data source, and then you bring the flowers data set, and then you create the figure. So here, creating figure is a bit so you have the figure. It's a P is figure, and then you start with the title, iris data set, sepal length versus sepal width. Then the tools now, you want pan, you want box zoom, you want to reset, you want to hover over it. Those are the tools you want, and then you want the tooltips to be species, and then you can use scatter instead of circle. So you say p dot scatter. So this figure you have started creating here. So you now say p dot scatter. You want it to be a scatter diagram, and then you have x is sepal length, y is sepal width. The color, color is the color column, and then the size is 10. The legend field is species, and then you bring in the source, which you already have up here in line 5. So, and this will help you to label. So now, of course, we are not using matplotlib. So in Bokeh, we can still do p.x-axis.x label. You will label it. Sepal length is in centimeters, and p.y-axis.x dot axis label. Sepal width is cm. The sepal width in centimeter. Then you have p.legend.title. So you want to use the legend according to the species, and then p.legend.location, top left, where you want the legend to be, and then you can now show p. So with this now you see that in showing the result, right? It shows it in another page, right? Because we said Bokeh is a web-based stuff. So you see it's showing it in another page like that. Okay. So, and everything you've done is showing up here. So just don't forget that we said the legend location should be top left. That's exactly where the legend location is here. And the colors are followed accordingly. Then you can see the y-axis is sepal width in centimeters, x-axis is sepal length in centimeters. So each time like that, you can have it come. But of course, in some other cases, you can just have the figures show, you know, right inside. So you're going to see some examples like that later. So let's go ahead and talk about the about visualizing the flight data set. And here we want to create a heat map. So the flight data set tracks the number of airline passengers by month and year. So you have month, year, and then you have the number of passengers flying for that particular time. So here we want to create a heat map. The x-axis will be the year, the y-axis will be month, and the color will be number of passengers. So the step one is to load the data set. Now we are bringing the flight data set from Seaborn. Of course, we could actually bring it from the Bokeh thing we did the other time, but of course, we also used to bringing it from Seaborn, right? So you say import Seaborn as SNS. So flight is SNS dot load data set flight. That's how to get it from Seaborn. And then we visualize the flights. Now, this is what we are running now. And then we press and I do control enter, and then it brings it out. And we are used to that, so I won't waste time with it. So talking about you can now pivot the data. So that brings the result in a very well arranged format that you can work with. So Bokeh wants a grid-like structure for heat map where you pivot the data frame. So it's a pivot now, it's flights that the data set dot pivot, you index with months, and the columns will be year and the values will be passengers. So if you show the pivot now, it just arranges it in a very neat way like this. Instead of having that long 100 and I think 144 rows, you have it pivoted in this very in a grid format like this and in this pivot table, and you can see everything at once instead of having to follow 144 data points like this. So this is so cool as a means of pivoting, so you can visualize this at once. In fact, if you're like the boss, you may want to have this in your office to that maybe that can give you some inspiration or some ideas about how to increase number of flights and things like that. Okay, so now we want to flatten the data for Bokeh. So we reshape data we will shape data into columns. So here we have months will now be list that pivot you had. So you have list pivot dot index, yes, list pivot dot columns, and then values pivot dot values dot flatten. And then from Bokeh models, you import column data source. So the source will now be column data source. Data is the dictionary of month, M for M in months for all the years, and year is string Y for whatever in months for Y in years. And then you have all that. So if you you run this now, of course you don't see anything because what we want to do at the end of the day is to create a heat map that shows us and what a heat map does is that you have a graduation of colors, and a particular kind of color tells you a dominance of whatever you are interested in and all that. So you're going to see, and as we've seen, even starting from Seaborn, right? So here now you have from Bokeh plotting, import figure and show, Bokeh models, import column data source, color bar. Now we need color bar to show the graduation of colors. I need basic ticker also. So from Bokeh the transform, you import linear CMap, and from Bokeh palette, you import Viridis 256. That all this is talking about colors, and of course pandas for the usual things you do. So you want to ensure that year is in string. So you say flight, the flight year column in flight should actually be of the string type. That's what is happening in line 8. And for the column data source, you have source is column data source for flights, and the values will be flights, the passengers column of flights, right? Then you talk about the column mapper. So you have linear C map for passengers using Viridis 256, and the low you have minimum values, high you have maximum values, right? So that's what is the color bar you're going to see beside the figure is going to show at the end of the day. Then you create the figure as usual. P is I mean, you can call this anything, but I mean, we use P here. P is figure with title, flight heat map. X range, you have string Y for Y in years. Y is range in months. X axis location is above. Though you can switch all this over. Then you have width to be 100, height is 800. You can also adjust. So you want to hover, you want to hover over it and get information. And two tips will be passengers at passengers. You have year, year, month at month. Then you draw rectangles, right? So you P rect X is year, Y is month, width is one, height is one, source is source, fill column mapper, and all that. So I mean, this thing seems to take a bit more than what Seaborn requires to draw a heat map, right? So then you add the color bar, right? You have P dot add layout color bar to the right hand side. You can have it to the left or top or bottom if you like. So optional, you can rotate X axis labels if you like, and all that. So with all these things now, we just hit and then you see it opens the color bar. And because we can hover, right? Now you can see that the yellowest part is where you have the highest number of lights, and the darkest part is where you have the lowest number of lights. So the yellowest part is somewhere around here, and that's for August 1960 with 606 flights, I believe. Yeah, okay, we have something yellower here. Yeah. So you have July 1960 with 622 flights, and then you have okay, July 1960 is the highest, followed by that August 1960. Some of the darkest parts will be maybe this January one with 112, January 1949 with 112 flights. Okay, this one still has more. So January is still is the darkest following the color bar, right? So you can see that the figure again has been opened on another on a in a like an in HTML format. So that's why we say Bokeh is web based, right? So we have created a heat map. So let's go ahead and talk about visualizing the tips data set using an interactive bar chart. So the tips data set records restaurant tips, and the goal is we want to see bar chart of average total bill per day, an interactive drop down to switch between smokers and non-smokers. All right. So step one, we have load and group data. So tips. So for the tips data set, now we bring that from Seaborn again, where we have SNS.load data set. So it means load data underscore data set is a function of is a function or module inside of Seaborn. Seaborn was imported as SNS previously. Bringing the tips data set. So we want to group by day and smoker. So grouped, you have group equals tips dot group by day and smoker, and you observe the total bill, the average of total bill, and then that is what that's going to give you. So you see now that according to the day of the week now, the average total bill is so you have So since you are grouping by day and smoker, right? So on Thursday we had smokers, right? For the smokers, right, you had total bill of 19.19. For the non-smokers, you had total bill of 17.11. Friday, so you group the days like that, but and then you subgroup based on whether you had for the smokers and non-smokers, and you have the total bills like that. So generally, you see that of course the smokers spent more money than the non-smokers, like that. And then, so the next thing is we want to create data source for initial selection. So from Bokeh models, import column data source. So you say you now define the you create a function. You say define get source smoker value, the value of smoker, and DF is now grouped from the grouped the smoker column. If it is equal to the smoker value, then you return column data source at the data frame. Then the source will now be get source, and you say yes. So of course we are not expecting any result from that, but it's been done. Then we go from here now to where we create the interactive plots. So we have from plot.plotting, import figure, and all of those things. Then we have something here. We have a CURDOC. So that's what we use in calling the document or something like that. So so we now say get source smoker status, and then you filter based on that. And then we have you create the figure using all the you follow all those regular stuff, and then we are doing all bars here, and then you select the smoker status, if value yes and no and all that, and then we run this, and then it gives us of course still no result, right? Because we have not got there yet. So so here I guess okay, that's one layer. Was that even supposed to be there? Show column Kodak. Okay. So I think this is where the result now comes out. Here now. So right. So I think this is not supposed to be here because this is actually where average total be. Yeah, I think this is not supposed to be here, right? This shouldn't be here. So this is where we actually get the results. So following all these other things now. Okay, so we now have this result. So, but now we have an error message here, but I mean, we just want to show this for now. So normally we should be able to change this to no, and then we get this to change, but because of this error message, that isn't working. All right, but then we can move on. Okay, so visualizing the Titanic data set, we want to look at age distribution histogram. So we'll compare the age distribution of survivors versus non-survivors using overlapping histograms. So here we're using the Titanic data set. So we have the Titanic. So we want to load and clean data, right? So if we comment this out and run this, it will show us the original Titanic data set where you have every not available value and everything. So here it is 891 rows and columns, right? But then if we come here, if we comment this out and leave this to run, so here we have the Titanic data set, and then we are dropping not available values under both age and deck. So if you look at age now, there are some not available values, and then under deck you have not available value. So any not available value under age set under age and deck will be gone by the time we run this now. All right, so I just do that. I mean, this is what we are running, as you can see. So then I just do this now, Control Enter. Okay, unexpected indents. Okay, not a problem. We just bring this back, Control Enter, and then we have this. So you can see now what was 189 rows before is now 184 rows because we have removed every unknown age and deck removed, right? So we have 184 rows and 15 columns. So then we want to compute the histograms here. So you want to bin age into histograms, right? So you have hist underscore survive, edges underscore survive. You have from NumPy. Now we now need histogram for NumPy. So for the Titanic, for survived age, we've been 20, range 0 to 80, hist no survival, edges no survive, same thing. And we go ahead like this. So survived is 1, so not survived is 0, right? So we also run that. This is what we have done here. But then no result is expected yet until we come to this last place where we create histogram plots. So for the histogram plot, now we have from bokeh.plotting import figure and show. So of course, to create figure, we have p Figure title is Titanic, age distribution by survival. X-axis label is age, Y-axis label is count. Then you have P quad, and then you have top history his survive, which you created up here, right? Bottom is zero, left edges, and all of this. And then we show P. So to see the P, you see, they survived. The green are the survived, and the red are those who did not survive, like that. And as you can see, the interpretation: the green bars are for survivors, the red bars are for the non-survivors. So more people survived than did not survive, right? And overlapping shows age differences, basically. So overlapping shows age differences. Okay. So we have all that. Then let's look at the Titanic data set. We want to look at fear versus age scatter plots. So how did they pay fares based on ages? So again, we prepare the data. So here now we want to drop any. So we have the clean Titanic data set, right? I mean, we already have a clean Titanic data set somewhere. Where is that? Um, Okay, we are just creating that now. So the Titanic clean is the Titanic data set where we drop both fair and sex, right? Where we drop not available values for fair and sex because we want to do scatter plot, right? So from bokeh.palette, which talks about color, right? We import category 10. So sex underscore colors, you have male category 10.3.0, female category 10.3.1, Titanic clean color. We are creating a new column there, right? I mean, if you want to visualize that, we can do that. Um, okay. So we have, in fact, we can just copy this out. Just have Titanic clean like this, and then we see all this, right? So it includes all the color stuff. So all these codes you see are color codes right there. Okay, based on what we have up here. Then we want to build interactive scatter plots. So for the interactive scatter plot now, we just we have from Bokeh models, import column data source, from dot plotting, import figure and show. So you have source column data source, Titanic, clean data set now. We want to do scatter plot for age and fair. So the figure itself, P is figure, title, Titanic fair versus age, colored by sex, tools, pan, box underscore zoom, reset, comma, hover, tooltips, you have sex at sex and all this. Then you have a scatter plot. So shape of scatter, age is x-axis, fair is y-axis, and then color is color size 8, alpha 0.6, source is source, and then you do all of this, and then you just run, and then this shows right here. So this is what you have. So that is how Bokeh has been so far. So you can have some other kind of visualization using Bokeh right here. So let me know how helpful this is for you. Let me know if there's a kind of data set you'd like me to work with, because after this video, I'll be looking at making dashboards with Bokeh, and then I will now take maybe a couple of projects. Like maybe I'll take a data set and just try to analyze, try to draw insights and things like that. So let me know how helpful this is for you. And if you would like me to use a particular kind of data set to help what you do, I'll be able to explain all of that. All right. So if you have subscribed to the channel, of course, you are missing. Yeah. I mean, it's been a nice learning curve, right? And if you have not subscribed, you'll be missing a lot. So you want to subscribe right now and hit the notification bell so you can always get alerted each time a new video is released. Till I come your way again, keep doing data right. Bye.